When you're working on a plan every day without a big picture vision, then how can anyone on your team know where you're going? Welcome to the Post Purchase Pro podcast.
This is the only podcast that dives deep into post-purchase marketing to help Amazon sellers increase sales, ranking, reviews, and profits. It's everything that happens after the initial sale that makes a difference. We call this the back end.
Welcome to the Post Purchase Pro podcast, episode 39, Sean. It's been 39 episodes. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. Once a week for 39 weeks, and here we are continuing to drop these dimes, these golden nuggets of wisdom that we pick up along the way. And for other sellers out there who are in the e-commerce space doing physical products, Seth and I are sharing some of our strategies with you here with regards to marketing, growing, and scaling an Amazon business. And you said it, Seth. You told me, you reminded me right before we started this call about the famous quote from Alice in Wonderland that if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there. So, obviously we need to create a big picture vision when we start to grow our company or our brand or our Amazon listings or whatever you're doing. If you don't have a big picture vision, then how in the heck could you ever create a plan that would actually get you to that destination? So as we're expanding our team and our business, our goal is to give our staff the grand vision, the big picture, if you will, of what our goals are in our business so that they can help us attain those. And without that clear direction, we continue to find out it's hard to get to that destination, isn't it, Seth?
Oh, man, definitely, Sean. So if you are rowing a boat and everybody was rowing in different directions, how quickly would you get to your destination? It's really tough, right? So one of the things that kind of changed my perspective on this a couple years ago, Sean, was I read this book called Vivid Vision. I think it's by Cameron Herold, and it basically makes you set your destination of your company and where you're going. And then the whole point of it is that when you can get everybody aligned working towards the same goal, then you're going to get there way faster. And it's kind of unbelievable, Sean. I think I went, 18 months ago, and I wrote our vivid vision for Post Purchase Pro. And we're working towards it. And it's kind of amazing what can happen when you start fulfilling these things that you've thought through and you've kind of painted the picture of what you want it to look like. And then you just kind of put the pieces in place. But early on, especially in my career, I don't know if you had the same experience, but I'd be like, okay, let's just get started. And we would start working on something. And then everybody else helping would just be like trying to pitch in, but they didn't know where we were trying to end up. They didn't know, for instance, that we were trying to create a world-class brand serving people that were passionate about cooking and using the Amazon channel to get there. They didn't know that. They just saw that we were trying to sell as many knives as we could, right? So it's a way different scenario when you can paint that vivid vision and really work towards something as a united team, Sean.
Absolutely. Enter Mano Italiano, if I remember, that was the
Yeah.
brand behind that vision. So early on, when we joined forces, I mean, your analogy or your metaphor is correct about everyone rowing in the wrong direction. But when you're only focused on sales and marketing, it's like everyone on that side of the boat is rowing and the other side is just hanging out, and then you end up going in circles. So like we have all of these metaphors, but I have to share one more, and maybe you can relate to this, Seth. So you've all heard of the expression "ready, aim, fire," or if you're like us, it's like "fire, ready, aim." Well, when we first started selling on Amazon, remember our goal was to set out and do in our second year, that is, $50 million in revenue. Well, we didn't hit $50 million in revenue, but if memory serves me, we did get to 9 million in revenue, which was 3 times greater than our first year. But our first year, we just hit the ground running, right? Like you were still holding a job. We were hiring friends and family. We're trying to get things done. And we had no vision. It was like this, Seth, is like we walked into the office, said, all right, this is what we're going to do. So we fire our arrow at the wall. Boom. We struck our target, because it's giant. And then we went up to the arrow and then we drew a target around it and said, boom, we got exactly what we aimed for, right? And that's the wrong way to go about this. So now looking back, it's kind of comical. All those marks on the wall from measurements that were important to us only became a kind of a distraction to the overall goal, which was to grow our brands on Amazon to a mature level and then sell those brands, which we have done successfully. But I tell you what, Seth, if you could go back to when we first began, if you would made different decisions, like if you could just choose three simple decisions that were made in year one that you could go
Yep.
back and change, how would that affect the zeros that are in your bank account today?
Sean, there's no question in my mind that I would be worth at least triple, honestly. Triple, just because, and just give me three decisions, and I can probably name them off for you. And it's simply
Don't
because
do
of the
that. That's
fact that
embarrassing.
simply because of the fact that we didn't say, here's what our main mission is. We said, basically, we're in business to make sales, and everybody supposedly would know what to do. And that's really, that never happens that way, Sean. So casting the big vision and saying, and you're very good about it every week on our weekly huddle. You mention the fact that what we're actually trying to achieve for our clients, right? And so when you're thinking about, working with your team, or even with, if you're a solo entrepreneur, this is an internal struggle. How many times have you gotten ADD and shot off on something else because you didn't have your big vision cast? And I think this is the best version of ourselves trying to do this, because we will shut off all other opportunities, even though they look appealing, because we know that that's not actually part of the vision that we're trying to achieve for ourselves right now, Sean.
Exactly. So, just like the rowboat analogy, I noticed that whenever we first started having these weekly meetings, and some folks on our staff all of a sudden say, "Hey, let's do not only a weekly staff meeting, but let's do a weekly management meeting so that we all know that we're working on the same goals." And as soon as we did that correctly, and not only listened, but more importantly, implemented what we were learning in those meetings and the feedback that were coming from our staff. I mean, back in those days, we had like an entire department for listing optimization. We had a department for photography. I was in the department for product, like, identifying product opportunities.
Yep.
You were in product development and management. We had a financial department, but we weren't all necessarily singing off the same sheet of music, were we? But when we finally did become get more in tune, if you will, to that music that we were singing, it was night and day difference. I think we were able to sell our very first brand at the beginning of year three, if I'm not mistaken, and have since sold 17 of those brands. And it continues to pile up on us, doesn't it? And none of that, Seth, none of that would have been possible without having that grand vision. What is the end game? And that's what you kind of have to ask people. And even though Danny's in the background here doing the post production of this video and the podcast, I asked Danny, what's the grand vision for our company? And he fumbled just for a second, which tells me that I'm not doing a good enough job projecting that to him. Am I, Seth?
Yeah, Sean, I think, when you are working on a plan every day without a big picture vision, then how can anyone on your team know where you're going? It's like, we've talked about it so many times, like creating the vision is like creating a filter for your decisions, but not only your decisions, but everybody around you that's working on the same goal. So even if you're a solo entrepreneur and you said, I want to create a lifestyle business that serves this audience, and I want to create this brand and it's going to exist in this way, I don't have any other vision besides that, that's at least a filter for all your other decisions. You're not going to be entertaining aggregators. You're not going to be doing these things that are not congruent with your goal. And the vision is just like a very, like, I guess the word is good, vivid, like visual of what your end result's
Vivid,
going to look like.
visual, vision. How many V's do you need?
Yes, triple
That's
V,
the
baby.
ultimate alliteration, isn't it?
That's pretty good. So
That's the
yeah,
name
Sean,
of
I
this
would say that.
podcast, by the way. Let's call this Vivid Visual Vision.
There you
This
go.
episode.
So create the vision, set your goals, then let your team know consistently about what we're all trying to achieve, and most importantly, why it's important, and how by achieving the goal for us as a team, everybody can win. And then you'll create filters when people are thinking about working on something, that they will cut off what's not important to hitting the goal, and they will include, you start it automatically including, your mind's going to easily see what is necessary to move you towards that goal, Sean.
Yep, 100%, man. It's like what we need to realize, like you said, Seth, is that if you could go back and just change three simple decisions, then that would triple your net worth. If that's your goal is to make a pile of cash or any other goal. And I can think of one simple decision that we made very early on that had a dramatic effect on the outcome of our Amazon business that I would take back if I could. but we don't really have the freedom or liberty to go back and change those decisions. So going forward in this vivid visual, say it again,
Vision?
vivid visual vision, which is what we're going to name this episode. I love that. Is that you have to remember every single action that you take in your business and every single decision that you make does have an effect on the long term success or failure. Like everything that we decide on a daily basis is life and business changing. The only question is, Seth, is it life changing for the better or is it life changing for the worse? And I think that if you have that big vision, that map, if you will, of where you want to go, that's the only way that you're ever going to have any chance of getting there, especially if you want to do it quickly and easily. So that's the whole gist behind this episode is painting that vision, not only for yourself, don't lie to yourself. Where are you going? And what are the steps necessary to get there? Share that with your team and empower your team to give you feedback on that vision and to be able to deviate and make some changes along the way, being a little flexible. And at the end of the day, Seth, having that flexibility is really one of the determining factors that helps us be more successful more quickly than large businesses. Another metaphor, it's hard to turn a big boat, right, Seth?
Yeah. So if I like to think of it like this, Sean, if you were not using a vision, then it's like you're standing there in the middle of a map and you can go any direction, you can make any decision, right? But if you can make any decision, then what's the likelihood that the decision that you make is going to get you closer to where you really want to be? So first of all, you have to take a little time and decide, where am I going, and then lay that groundwork. So then what happens is you narrow the uh, the decisions that you are letting yourself make to where they fit into the path that you're actually on.
So, in Post Purchase Podcast, episode 39, the whole takeaway is get off of the roller coaster of highs and lows, get focused on that vision, share that vision with your team, and then hold that team accountable, all while giving them the authority to give feedback and suggest changes of that vision. My name is Sean Hart. That's my co host, Seth Stevens, right there. This is the Post Purchase Podcast, episode 39. We'll catch you next week. See you, Seth.
See ya.